If you let people walk over you once, they will walk over you forever. Respect isn't given. It's taken with strategy, precision, and a mind that never bends. Most people beg for respect, but the powerful command it, not through kindness, not through patience, but through ruthless psychological control that forces the world to see their strength. And the truth is, Machiavelli left behind lessons so dark, so brutally honest, that they were never meant for the average man. Today, you will learn the first of these lessons, the kind that makes people rethink how they speak to you, how they treat you, and whether they should ever try crossing you again. Welcome to the Prince's Doctrine. The first crucial way to command respect is control your presence. The world is not equal. Every room you enter is already ruled by an invisible hierarchy, a silent power structure that sorts people into categories long before a word is spoken. Some men rise to the top instantly. Others are dismissed, ignored, disrespected, even when they believe they're being good. But here is the cold truth. Good men are often respected last. Strong men are respected first. And the difference has nothing to do with morality, and everything to do with presence. The silent hierarchies that rule every room. Walk into any room, a classroom, a workplace, a cafe, even your own home, and a subconscious ranking begins in milliseconds. Psychologists call this dominance sorting. Machiavelli called it the natural order. People do not wait for your personality. They don't wait for your story. They don't wait to see if you're kind, loyal, or intelligent. They judge you based on your posture, your eyes, your pace, your stillness, your energy, your silence. Before you even breathe, they have already decided whether you are a leader, a threat, a follower, or someone to exploit. Take Julius Caesar. He could walk into a senate filled with men who envied him, hated him, and plotted behind his back. Yet every one of them straightened their spine the moment he entered. Not because he spoke, not because he fought, but because his presence carried the weight of a man who expected respect and punished disrespect. Your presence is either commanding the hierarchy, or you're being ranked below men who don't deserve to outrank you. You know why nice men are treated as weak. You've been told your whole life. Be polite. Don't cause trouble. Be cooperative. Be understanding. But nobody told you the hidden cost. Politeness without power becomes weakness. When a man is nice because he's strong, it's admirable. When a man is nice because he fears conflict, it's pathetic. Humans, especially adults, can smell this difference instantly. This is why the agreeable man, the man who avoids tension, the man who never interrupts, the man who laughs too quickly, the man who yields too easily, is never respected. In the courts of Renaissance Italy, men who were too soft were the first to be manipulated, assassinated, or removed from power. Not because they were bad, but because they lacked presence, the currency of survival. Machiavelli wrote, "He who is despised commands no respect, even if he harms no one. Kindness without power invites exploitation. Kindness backed by presence creates respect." Listen the powerful, the dark psychology of first impressions. There is one thing you must engrave into your mind. You never get a second chance at dominance. Once people categorize you as weak, you will spend months, sometimes years, trying to undo that image. This is why your presence must hit before your words do. Respect is front-loaded. Authority is established instantly. Boundaries are felt, not described. Look at Alexander the Great. He was shorter than average, young, and often surrounded by older generals. But no one ever mistook him for weak. Why? because he trained himself to radiate. Stillness, certainty, emotional coldness, a lack of hesitation. People don't obey money. They don't obey muscles. They don't obey intelligence. They obey presence, the invisible force that says, I don't need your approval, but you will respect me. You know what determines your future powers us. Approval. The fork that determines your future. Every man must choose a path. Path 1. Seek approval. You avoid conflict. You over-explain. You apologize for everything. You want everyone to like you. This path leads to resentment, humiliation, burnout, and eventually hatred from others and from yourself. Because the man who seeks to be liked is always controlled by those he wants approval from. Then path 2. Seek power. You don't fear tension. You say less, with more weight. You correct disrespect instantly. You carry yourself like a man who protects his throne. This path leads to respect, authority, and influence, even from enemies. Machiavelli warned, it is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. But what he never openly explained is this. Being respected lies between fear and admiration, and presence is what creates that middle point. This is the path of powerful men. Why people will test you. People test strength for one reason. They want to know your rank. Even your closest friends, your co-workers, your family, and strangers will unconsciously interrupt you, push your boundaries, mock you, talk over you, challenge your decisions, question your worth. This is not cruelty. It's human nature. Every test you fail drops you down the hierarchy. Every test you pass pushes you upward. Spartans trained boys by throwing them into mock battles every morning, not to teach them war, but to teach them respect dynamics. The one who flinched first lost. The one who held his stance rose. Humans still operate by the same laws. People forget Machiavelli's principle. Respect is a calculation. Most people believe respect is emotional. I like him, so I respect him. He's nice, so I should treat him well. But Machiavelli exposed a darker truth. People respect you when you can impose consequences. Not when you're good, not when you're kind, not when you're understanding. They calculate, if I disrespect him, will it cost me? If the answer is yes, they treat you correctly. If the answer is no, you become a doormat. Respect is mathematics, not morality. This realization leads us to the first crucial way to command respect without mercy. The one that reshapes your aura, your energy, and your psychological footprint in every environment. The first crucial way. Control your presence. Rule the room without a word. Presence is not posture. It is not aesthetics. It is not charisma. Presence is the psychological pressure your existence creates. It's the silent voltage in your body that signals confidence, self-worth, authority, danger, unpredictability, emotional control. This is why powerful leaders, soldiers, kings, and emperors trained in stillness before strategy. A man with presence doesn't need to shout. He doesn't need to argue. He doesn't need to convince. His silence speaks. His gaze speaks. His energy speaks. Let's break it down with historical precision. Throughout history, great commanders understood that the man who moves least controls the room. Leonidas of Sparta could stand silent before an army of thousands, and the silence itself felt like a command. Caesar once silenced an entire senate by simply placing his hand on the hilt of his sword. No threat, no words, just presence. Why does stillness work? Because movement signals insecurity, restlessness, anxiety, eagerness, approval, seeking. Stillness signals confidence, dominance, Emotional mastery. Humans instinctively follow the man who looks least affected by the environment. Stillness is psychological gravity. The eye contact that breaks weak minds. Eye contact is not staring. It is not aggression. It is not intimidation. It is ownership of attention. Studies show that people unconsciously follow the eye gaze of those they consider dominant. When you hold eye contact, Napoleon mastered this. He had a reputation for looking directly into someone's soul until they looked away, and with that, their rank dropped. A man who cannot maintain eye contact cannot maintain respect. You train this respect begins long before words are spoken, before boundaries, before consequences, before strategy. It begins the moment you enter a room. You've learned the first crucial way, the one Machiavelli hinted at, the one history repeatedly confirms, the one weak men never master. Control your presence. Rule without speaking. Let your silence carry the weight of a man who cannot be ignored. In the next chapter, you will learn the second crucial way, something far sharper, colder, and more dangerous. How to set boundaries with blade-like precision. This is where power stops being aesthetic and becomes unbreakable. Remember the moment a man loses respect. Because here is a brutal truth most men never understand. You do not lose respect suddenly. You lose it one unchallenged disrespect at a time. A comment you let slide, a tone you ignored, a favor you agreed to, even when it drained you, a joke made at your expense that you laughed at to fit in. Every time you tolerate disrespect, you teach people exactly how to treat you. Respect is not lost through major betrayals. It erodes through microscopic violations you never addressed. Machiavelli wrote, "Injuries must be punished, for they grow with indulgence." Boundaries aren't walls. They are warnings, signals that tell others where your power begins. The dark psychology behind respect, why people test limits. Humans are wired to push. We push laws. We push rules. We push authority. We push each other. And most of all, we push those who appear soft. This testing behavior is not always malicious. Sometimes it's subconscious. People push to understand your tolerance, your self-worth, your emotional backbone, your position in the hierarchy. A man without boundaries becomes the default target in any group dynamic, because predators always choose the easiest prey. Throughout history, kings, emperors, and military generals knew this. Allow one violation, and the kingdom collapses one brick at a time. The Ottoman sultans had a rule. The first sign of defiance must be crushed immediately, no matter how small. Why? Because subjects were always watching. One ignored disrespect could spark rebellion. Human nature hasn't changed. Your life operates by the same principle. Good men make. Make this mistake and why it destroys them. Weak men tolerate everything. Good men tolerate too much. Strong men tolerate nothing that crosses their line. Good men make the same fatal mistake. They assume people understand their limits without ever stating them. They believe, they should know I'm uncomfortable. They should know this hurts me. They should know this is disrespectful. But people don't just know. They only know what you enforce. This is why good men are often taken advantage of. They substitute wishful thinking for assertive boundaries. The world does not reward silent expectations. It rewards clear lines. The hidden rule of power. What you allow, you promote. Every time you let something slide, you silently approve it. If someone takes your time, interrupts you, disrespects you, mocks you, uses you, expects you to always say yes, it's because you taught them they could. You don't get what you desire. You get what you tolerate. The Roman general Scipio Africanus was known for being patient, calm, and even kind. But the moment a soldier crossed a boundary, even a small one, punishment was swift and public. He understood that mercy without consequence breeds rebellion. Your relationships operate by the same logic. Take boundaries as a weapon. Machiavelli never wrote a guide on boundaries, but his writings contain a hidden principle. Let your first response be measured, but let your second response be ruthless. Translated into psychological warfare. The first violation, a calm, clear correction. The second violation, distance, withdrawal, or consequence. The third violation, exile. Weak men repeat themselves endlessly. Strong men repeat themselves once. Ruthless men do not repeat at all. This is boundary precision. The 3 types of boundaries powerful men use. 1. Physical boundaries. Your space, your possessions, your time. People respect these instantly if enforced early. 2. Emotional boundaries. How you let people talk to you, what tone you accept, what jokes cross the line. These define your psychological rank. 3. Behavioral boundaries. What actions you reward, what actions you penalize, what patterns you shut down. These determine whether people treat you casually or carefully. Powerful men maintain all 3. Weak men maintain none. The power of the first correction, the critical moment most men fail. The first time someone crosses your line, your correction shapes the future of the relationship. Handle it incorrectly, and you lose power permanently. Handle it correctly, and respect increases. There are 3 deadly mistakes men make here. Mistake 1. Overreacting. Anger reveals insecurity. Explosive reactions show you've been disrespected before. People sense emotional fragility. Mistake 2. Laughing it off. You signal submission, even if you feel hurt inside. Laughter is permission, poisoned with shame. Mistake 3. Staying silent. Silence is not strength here. Silence is surrender. The correct response. Calm, direct, unemotional correction. 1 sentence. Not 2. Not 3. Not a discussion. This is how powerful men handle disrespect. The Machiavellian response. Short, cold, and final. When someone crosses a line, say it like a man who is stating a fact, not a threat, not a plea, not a reaction. Examples. Don't speak to me like that. I'm not repeating myself. That doesn't work for me. Stop. That's enough. We're not doing that. Short sentences signal authority, clarity, emotional control, consequence. The fewer words you use, the more seriously you're taken. The law of enforcement. Consequences are respect's backbone. A boundary without consequence is a decoration. People only believe your words when consequences exist behind them. Consequences don't have to be aggressive. They can be subtle, strategic, Machiavellian. Humans fear loss more than they value approval. Use that to your advantage. As Machiavelli said, men are driven by 2 principal impulses, love and fear. When love fails, fear maintains order. Letting someone experience your distance is more powerful than any lecture. Let your actions speak. Spartans didn't negotiate boundaries. They enforced them through action. If a boy crossed a line, the elders didn't yell. They didn't argue. They didn't explain. They corrected. Silently, immediately, unemotionally. Why did it work? Because predictable punishment creates predictable respect. When people know exactly what happens after violating your boundaries, they stop violating them. Powerful men don't hope people respect them. They architect respect. The rule of 2 warnings, the most important rule of this chapter. A man who repeatedly gives third, fourth, and fifth chances loses power each time. Give one calm correction, one consequence. After that, you're not teaching them anymore. You're training them to ignore you. The rule is simple. 2 warnings are the maximum. The third time, they lose access. This is how kings ruled courts, how generals ruled armies, how fathers ruled families, and how high-value men rule their lives. If you cannot walk away, you cannot command respect. Remember this. A man who protects his boundaries protects his masculinity, his reputation, and his mind. This is how you command respect without mercy. Every powerful person in history understood one thing. People don't respect you because of who you are. They respect you because of what they stand to lose if they cross you. Humans are driven more by fear of loss than the promise of gain. It is a flaw built into the mind, a bias so strong that Machiavelli called it the most predictable force in human nature. And the rulers who mastered it became untouchable. By the time you reach this chapter, you've already learned how perception builds power and how silence creates psychological distance. But even those two are incomplete without the final principle. The rule that separates the admired from the feared, and the feared from the untouchable. Make people fear the cost of disrespect, not through threats, not through violence, but through a reputation that whispers, if you cross him, you will lose something you can never get back. This is the strategy used by kings, emperors, warlords, CEOs, and even the quietest masterminds who rule social circles without ever raising their voice. To see the truth of this, go back centuries. Look at Genghis Khan, a man whose very presence shifted the air in a room. Why? Because people didn't fear him for his strength. They feared him for the consequences of underestimating him. He punished betrayal so decisively that even the idea of disloyalty carried a death sentence of reputation, resources, or entire cities. Machiavelli studied leaders like him and learned the one law they all obeyed. If people think disrespecting you is cheap, they will do it often. If people think disrespecting you is expensive, they will never try. The same dynamic ruled the courts of Renaissance Italy. The Medici family didn't hold power because they were loved. They held power because every ally, every rival, every diplomat knew one thing. Losing the favor of a Medici meant losing wealth, safety, and political life. The cost of disrespect was catastrophic. And this lesson still rules the modern world. Think of the people around you, in your home, your work, your relationships. Who gets walked over? The one whose boundaries carry no weight. Who gets respected instantly? The one whose silence makes people uneasy, whose decisions make people think twice, whose presence changes the energy in the room. The difference isn't personality. It isn't confidence. It isn't intelligence. It is the fear of loss attached to that person. It may be the loss of your approval, the loss of your cooperation, the loss of your attention, the loss of your usefulness, or the loss of your presence. In psychological warfare, this is called value withdrawal, the strategic ability to make your absence more painful than your presence. When people know that your silence, your distance, or your disconnection comes with consequences, they begin to treat you with a different kind of respect, the kind that isn't spoken, but felt. Machiavelli warned princes never to appear replaceable, to never look desperate for company, to never show attachment so openly that enemies can weaponize it. Because the man who cannot walk away cannot command respect. So you create a new rule in your life. Every interaction with you must feel like a privilege, never a guarantee. Not through arrogance, not through coldness, but through a quiet certainty that says, my time is valuable. My presence is earned. This energy shifts everything. Suddenly, people choose their words more carefully. Suddenly, they notice when you withdraw. Suddenly, they feel a subtle pressure to stay on your good side, not out of fear of who you are, but fear of what losing access to you means for them. This is the final Machiavellian truth. Power is not in being needed. Power is in being missed. Caesar understood it. The Medici mastered it. Even modern leaders, political, corporate, social, rely on it. Their decisions carry a shadow. Their absence creates discomfort. Their silence feels like a warning. And when you adopt this mindset, your relationships transform. People stop testing you. They stop playing with your boundaries. They stop assuming you'll tolerate disrespect. Because now, disrespect becomes expensive, and in the economics of human behavior, people avoid costs at all costs. This final strategy completes the trinity. Perception shapes power, silence protects power, and loss enforces power. Master all three, and you no longer ask for respect. You command it, not loudly, not violently, but with a psychological presence so strong that people fear losing you more than you ever feared losing them. This is the third way, the last way. The way Machiavelli hinted at, but never fully explained. Make people fear the consequences, and the world will treat you with the caution reserved only for the powerful.